Alright everyone, got a few new projects on the go here. We've got this Evo Makinen in for full restoration really, and we also have this Evo in for an engine rebuild. And there'll be another Evo, an Evo Colt actually, coming in a couple of weeks for a little bit more work, so it's going to be pretty busy for the next few months. These dials. Go on, fall off. 300 quid on you being framed. One thing I forgot to mention about this is it's getting some major power upgrades while we're on as well. Probably north of 600 if we're lucky. I've got that side ready to lift now, apart from the mounts in the shaft. I've got to deal with all this aftermarket nonsense here though. Typically, nothing's been plugged, so I've had to cut wires. I'll add some plugs in later and make it all nice and pretty again. I'm painting the bay as well to clean up all this nastiness. Yes.
Yes, Tom. That is the palm one.
Go on, that's it, picture the extra. You know, like that guy who crashed 32 DDI. That's brilliant, that's brilliant. I need to do it. Do it. Do there. Okay, then. Where's the stuff to do? Where's the... I'm going to edit some of them, you know, 8-bit sunglasses over here. Still need to know. Got no engine, still need to know that. Come on, cool still. I know.
What's that? Rural.
Everywhere. Oh no! That's
Still
empty.
good, still good. It's
Empty. Yeah, it's all good.
Good. It's not bad, is it? That's it. It'll be better.
It's the weight of them forged pistons.
Right, I've got most of the engine stripped out, I've got the rock cover off. It's pretty black inside. It has been using a lot of oil though, so it's probably to be expected. I'm going to take the head off, complete with the cams, and then take some off and investigate what the pistons look like to see what we're up against. Don't do that on aluminium ones. Right, I've got that set to 85 now.
Right.
Now I need to check it in the cylinders. 85. Right, this is the cylinders, and as you can see there are honing marks, but there is definitely uneven wear on every cylinder, which is no doubt leading to the excessive oil consumption that this engine was seeing. Rings definitely aren't sealing all the way around. Barely touching by the looks of it. Right, on to the next project. This is an Evo 6.5 Makinen. It's in dire need of some good paint. It had a respray and it's been done really badly. I'm going to correct it. I've sprayed many vehicles in the past, mostly my own, and a lot of engine bays and things like that. And this is a pretty big job for me, so I've spent a lot of money on a lot of new gear to get sorted out to do it properly. The work that was done is just diabolical. I needed to touch some bits in anyway, so I took a piece down to get it scanned because I wasn't sure of the colour. They did say, yeah, it's just Evo red, and when I got the piece scanned, it came back as a Toyota colour, so it's not even the right colour, so it's just wrong. The car itself has done around 100,000 miles, so it was getting a bit tired and it needed a refresh, but there is not a speck of rust on it. It's fresh from Japan. It's perfect really, apart from a couple of little dents here and there, which I'm going to take out before I paint it. So I made another spit for it, rotisserie if you were rather. Same as what's on my, well, same as what my Nissan is on, my S13, but you haven't seen that yet. That's a long-term project. It's fairly easy to construct, really. I could have bought one, but the waiting this, well, it was going to take 3 or 4 weeks to get here, and I didn't plan as usual, so I ended up making another one. So first step is to prep the shell, really. I did consider stripping all the paint back and doing a bare metal on it, but every stripper I've seen being used has always ended up leaving bits on, and you always end up having to use an abrasive anyway. And I don't want to really have to do that because it's still got all the zinc coatings on because it hasn't rusted, so I don't want to remove any of that. So I think since I'm going to prime it and flat it all anyway, I don't think it's worth stripping it back. It will be a little bit heavier because of the extra paint, but it's negligible really, especially on a car of this weight. They're not particularly light. I know they are a lightweight version of the car, but the extra paint's not going to matter. It's not a Ferrari F40, even though it is a fairly valuable car now. The car itself had a few tasteful mods on it and a few not so tasteful mods on it, so some of it's going back to standard, like the steering wheel and things. They were just not cool. Anodized blue, 2-spoke, horrible thing. It's great if you were rallying, I suppose, but this probably isn't ever going to see a rally stage ever again, so it's not for this car. So I think I've sourced an original Makinen wheel for it. And the other mods aren't so bad, like Rally Art boost pipes and things. They're pretty good and rare, so they're going to stay on, I think. But this will be a full component level restoration, reasonably full anyway. All the suspension arms and things all reconditioned and made to look like new again, all bolts replated and whatever. I've done a little bit of that work already, but there's still quite a lot to go, so I'll walk you through all that, I guess. But the first stage is prepping the shell. Now, while I'm doing this, the engine for the Evo MR that I'm also currently working on is going down to get rebuilt, and hopefully this will be somewhere near done by the time that gets back. It might overlap a little bit, of course, but that'll be an interesting bit. And I've also got an Evo Colt waiting to come in for some work, but I think I'm going to have to crack on with this now since it's in bits and taking up all my workshop, as you can probably see. Having it on the rotisserie makes it a lot easier to work on. Even if I am just painting it, it's so much easier because I'll be painting inside out and underneath and in the engine bay, and having it at eye height and then being able to turn it upside down and get the light on it properly, you can really do a decent job that way. So I'm going to flip it upside down now and show you the underfloor and show you just how good condition it's in. And around we go. Easy as that. So as you can probably see, even though it has had a fresh coat of paint, it's in excellent condition. Got a few dents here and there. Some of them appeared while it was getting sprayed. That I'm going to have to sort out. The boot floor, unheard of on Evo 6s to be this clean. There obviously is a little bit of rust under this black stuff that he's put on. I'm going to have to take that back at least and re-zinc it. But yeah, rather excellent condition really. Most people dream of having Evos this clean. But yeah, as you can see, some of the paint defects are just not acceptable. Even though it is underneath the side skirt there, runs are just not okay on a car of this sort of value. So yeah, bad paint, but good shell. So I'm going to fix it. Well, that was a lot of graft. Turns out the previous painter hadn't prepped pretty much any of the bay or the interior or the floor, so I've had to take it back to the metal. The paint was just flaking off even when I was just power washing it. So paint stripper and wire wheels and sanders and everything have managed to bring it up pretty decent, and there's pretty much no rust on it. There was some little traces underneath where the zinc was starting to go, but no pitting. So it's ideal really for this sort of work. You wouldn't want to leave it any longer, and you wouldn't want to do it before then either. So it's a good time for a restoration. I've still got to actually prep it for paint. I've got to run it over with some Scotch-Brite, which is all he had to do in the first place, but in the end he's cost me a week's work fixing all his mistakes, and I'm still not finished yet really, because I've still got all the other panels to do. But it's 6 o'clock on a Sunday now, so I'm going to go home. So see you next time.